Discussing about business ethics and its overview. So let me make a quick recap of the contents what we have discussed in the previous session. So yesterday, previous session we had a discussion on what is ethics in general. Ethics is something which means culture, that is prevalent behavior in the society, and we have seen what is the nature of ethics. Ethics is science; it is a normative science, and it is different from morality. And we have seen what is the objective of ethics, why it is required, and then we have gone with the business ethics. So what is business ethics? There are two different terms in this. One is business and ethics. Applying the ethical principles in business so that it is taking care of the interested people or stakeholders. So this we have seen elaborated in the previous session, and we have seen the definition of business ethics, and we have gone through the characteristics of business ethics like code of conduct based on moral and social values. It tries to give protection to the social group. So likewise, we have seen what are all the various characteristics, and we have seen three important theory. One is Unitarian view, the other one is separatism view, the third one is integration view of ethics. So just a briefing on these three views alone, so that you will be clear. Here, the Unitarian view talks about like business cannot be in isolation. It has, it will follow moral ethics and moral structure, right? It is united together. Second was like separatist view. Any business is for profit. So ethics is different and business is different. This is the one more view of ethics. Whereas integration view states that you have your business, there is morals and ethics, and there is an environment which takes care of it, which is your law, society, market system, and government. So this we have seen in the previous session. Apart from this, we have seen the various ethical consciousness stages. So law of jungle means like the survival will be the fittest. Whoever is doing best, they'll survive. Anything for profit, I can do anything for profit until or otherwise I'm getting caught. Means like I can bribe, I can come out of tax or something like that until I'm getting caught. So this is the mindset, second level of mindset of people. Third will be like profit maximization in the short run. I'll try to make the business within short run, and after that, I'm not worried about it. Let me take some other business if needed. Profit maximization in the long run, yes, it is considered as one of the higher level of ethical consciousness. I'm doing a business to ensure that the profit is coming for me. At the same time, I'm living for a long time period. Next is stakeholder concept. You have different stakeholders. Generally, stakeholders represents any person who is interested in a business. It talks about the customers, employees, suppliers, government, society, etc. And corporate citizenship is much more higher, which thinks that there is a purpose for any organization to survive, and it is focused on taking care of not only the stakeholders but also the society. I mean, the entire thing, right? So this talks about ethical consciousness in business. So this we have seen in the previous session. With this recap, today we'll be discussing on ethical theories. Here, um, I'll be discussing about three major theories. The first is meta-ethics. So what is meta-ethics? Here we are trying to make an attempt to answer the fundamental philosophical question about the nature of ethical theory itself. For example, if I say this is good, right? So you are questioning like what is goodness first of all. How can we tell what is good and what is bad? Because if some people says that yes, you can provide charity, right? You can make charity means like you can give some food items this, that during this COVID-19 time. You can transfer to PM's fund or the state fund, right? You can contribute. Now, the question is of like why I want to make charity. So normally we'll have a tendency now whenever we see some beggars in the road. Normally people will have a mindset like, okay, let me give it. I'm earning, let me give it 10 rupees or 20 rupees, something like that. The other person mindset will be like, this is not good. Why we want to give money? Don't try to encourage beggars, right? So these are all two different thoughts. So how you define that which is right, whether giving is right or not giving is right. First of all, this meta-ethical theory questions the concept itself. All right. So meta-ethical theory deals with metaphysical issues. What is this metaphysical? Metaphysical refers to is the branch of philosophy which is a fundamental nature of reality, like spirituality. Metaphysical represents like spirituality, faith, ability to predict the future. See, all those things are uh, not under our control. There is no kind of a much of physics involved in that. For example, spirituality. So, how you bring in physics? So physics try to answer and then explain what has happened. But these things are beyond our level. For example, life. We'll say like, where is the life this lies, right? Whether the life is in our heart or it is in our lungs, we are not sure. So these kind of things, which is not having a physical philosophy itself, which is right and which is wrong. Many people cannot answer, right? So this is one set of theory. Next is normative theory. First, I've talked about meta ethics. Second is normative ethics. Normative implies that something that guides and controls. It is again a branch of ethics that guides human conduct. For example, uh, yesterday we were discussing, I was mentioning about giving. I mean, murdering is wrong, right? Murder is wrong, and then giving to charity is good, but it is not ethically mandated. These things will tell you what habits you can follow, right? So normative ethics is something which deals with the basic human conduct. It also tries to set certain moral standards. These things, what we see around us, things around us, praying, all these things are helping us to make some moral standard, set a standard, right? So this discipline also is making us to set a standard. So these kind of things will set a standard which has to be followed, right? So there are three different normative theories. One is teleological ethical theory, deontological ethical theory, and virtue ethics. Fine. So what is teleological ethical theory? This teleological ethical theory uh, means that thinking rationally about ends. For example, I have an issue, and for that issue, I believe that I can take a solution. I can identify, okay, this solution will be positive. For example, people say hacking is wrong. But action uh, will be for a good cause. So that is what about your theological ethical theory is all about. But the problem with this theological ethical theory is that how to judge what consequences is favorable or not, and which is good and which is bad. The judgment itself is that time. The next is deontological ethical theory. It is again a normative ethical theory that the morality of an action should be based on whether the action itself is right or wrong. Yeah, this will try to question whether my action itself is right or wrong. Alright? So whatever I'm saying, ethical hacking itself is right or wrong. I'm not talking about the consequences. Right? First of all, the activity itself is right or wrong. When you question such things like that, then it comes under deontological ethical theory. The next one is virtue ethics. We say now people by virtue. What is that word? People by virtue. Here, people by virtue represents by birth, or they have their own personality characteristics. You may be one among that. You may have certain basic virtue in yourself, like being honest. Even people are seeing, watching or not, you try to be honest. And then respect. You try to respect each and everyone, irrespective of their ages. Right? And then empathy. Empathy represents like showing some concern for others. Trustworthy. Be virtue ethics. So these three ethical concepts comes under normative theory. See, these things I'm just giving you a briefing for better understanding and detailed learning. You go through the contents and then you try to read as much as possible from Google as well as other materials related to that, where you'll get some lot of input on these theories. Fine. Uh, the next one is applied ethics. So the first one is like meta ethics. Second is normative ethics, and the third is applied ethics. Applied ethics refers to the practical application of moral consideration. So here it is dealing with real world action. For example, let me go directly to the example to help you out. Here, applied ethics is some of the controversial issues, right? We should not involve in certain controversial issues. Hello, hello, Tanti sir. Just a minute, just a minute. I'll just inform some microphone. Okay. All right. So there was some disturbance in between. So let's proceed. Since being evening, there are high chances like this. So let's proceed further. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you, someone give me an acknowledgement? Can you hear me? Ajit sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you. See, applied ethics is like you're trying to apply the morals in our real life. For example, female feticide. So killing girl children, it is not right, right? So we are applying the concept like we are going against the nature, and it is not the right one, right? And then cloning. So though we talk about cloning and then it is we know this word from a longer period of time, but people are not trying to go ahead with that because that is not a right act. Testing drugs on animals. Again, it is not ethical, but still, testing is going on animals. We are helpless. And now testing is going on humans with permission of the medical council and other things, so that again it's for a good cause, right? So misleading advertisement. So misleading advertisement should not be there, which is not good for the in the real life condition. Like you state something in your advertisement, and then the product what the people are getting is something else, right? We say certain formulas, and then there is no content of that whatever has been proposed by the particular manufacturer or the marketer. Insider trading. Insider trading is like I know I have I'm working in the company. I know the confidentiality aspects of the company while buying the shares and look into it and then use the opportunity. So bribery, corruption, all these things talks about applied ethics. Now, so we have seen what is meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. I'm sure like you'll be having some kind of concern about these topics because these are all theoretical content. So you need a lot of learning on this, right? Just go and read in detail of it. Anyway, let us look into market system. See, this you might be familiar. So, what is a market system? When you say a market system, there will be buyers, there will be suppliers, and then there is an environment and many other factors. So, a market system is generally where there will be a network of buyers, sellers, and other actors that come together to trade in a given product or service. So, generally, whatever we are living in, it's a market system. We are the buyers, sometimes we are the sellers, all right? So, we work in such a system. So, that's what mentioned in all the content, like direct market players, suppliers, and other entities, and then impact of unethical behavior in market system. So in this system when we are living, what are all the unethical behaviors that can occur? One is coercive acts. So coercive act is coercion represents threatening. See, threatening means like you're threatening the sellers. Like I have a competition for my business, I'm threatening the other sellers using my power. Sometimes I may be having some political contacts, or sometimes I may be having some administrative contacts, bureaucratic contacts, by which I'm trying to threaten people, right? And then buyers from purchasing from certain sellers, you're threatening buyers also not to buy from so and so organization. So this is also possible, right? So this is also an unethical behavior. which is not acceptable. Deceptive information. As we discussed earlier, deceptive information is giving a false information. For example, if you recollect earlier times, not more, maybe like some 3 to 4 years before, the issue was like one of the product, right? Tide and Rin, they had a higher, bigger competition, and where one was claiming that they have a lemon extract or lemon concentration in their product, which was filed against, which was filed as a case, right? And then like the company which claimed they were trying hard to come out of it and then capture the market. All those are there. It's again capturing the customer's mind and then promoting the product in such a way, but the actual result will not be sure, right? Again, deceptive information, which may not have a claim. Sometimes they'll say like this was approved by so and so people. But if it is there, then it's fine. Or else those informations are deceptive, means false information. Theft. Theft is also happening in the market, right? So especially relating to power transmission. Mainly the companies are becoming the victims. So people used to use the opportunity and then they'll try to make some cooking system and then they'll try to steal power, which is also happening, and then they'll try to make whatever possible thefts, bribery, giving some amount to someone. So all these are self-explanatory stuff, which is unethical behavior in a market system. Now, this is one important concept: ethics and trust in business relation. See, for any kind of activity, trust plays a major role. Once the trust is broken, then probably it will be tough for the person to regain it. So trust plays a major role when it comes to employee and his immediate supervisor. Once the supervisor is not having any trust on the employee, then probably like he'll try to break all ethical codes. Many ethical codes might have been broken because he don't trust him. So normally he'll try to monitor him, he'll try to track his calls, he'll try to track what he is sending as mail or whatsoever. So all these things will be done once the trust is broken. Same way vice versa. The employee doesn't trust the boss, then probably whatever he says, he'll not try to involve in that. Of course, you are supposed to do the work because you have to get the salary. Other than that, you try to make activities in such a way that it is against that particular boss. Similar way, this trust plays a major role in various parts of business. So how it works? Trust is important, and then any kind of unethical behavior will affect the supplier's relation. You may have 2 to 3 suppliers. You're trying to make an advantage of it, and then trying to play with the suppliers by having some unfair price advantage with one. Immediately what will happen is like if the other supplier comes to know, even if you give higher price also, that person will be like, no, you've broken my trust, I'll not have business with you further, thank you for your support. So we will not be there with you, right? So you're losing some good suppliers, again losing some good customers, losing some good employee, right? So if the company is not making ethical attempts, they are not performing ethically, then they'll miss out some good employee. The unethical behavior which happens in the business relation. Now, integrative social contract theory, again, we are going with theory. So, what is a social contract? See, a social contract is an informal agreement. It is not a formal agreement, informal agreement. Simple, with one example, I'll tell you what is a social contract. Two persons are having their pistol, gun, right, and standing opposite to each other. Now, what will happen to the social contract is that, first of all, there will be a hyper norm. Hyper norm is you're not supposed to shoot an individual, shoot a human, even animals also. There are certain laws to protect it, so we are not supposed to shoot the animals. But assuming that there are two humans, and then like they are having a normal general public, they are having their gun and then pointed towards each other, pistols were pointed towards each other. So here the hyper norm is there is a global universal accepted norms that it is a crime which should not happen. So this is a hyper norm which has to be followed. But since being in such a situation, both the persons will have a fear that the other one will shoot, right? But if both are coming to a concern like, okay, let both of us drop the gun, right? then that becomes a social contract. Here it becomes an informal agreement relating to behavioral norms that are developed because of shared goals. Shared goal is right. We'll not fight, we'll not shoot each other. Let us come and discuss and then come to a meeting. Right? So that is a social, just a simple example for social contract. Now I'll go to the first line. A social contract is an informal agreement between concerning behavioral norms that are developed from shared goals, belief, and attitude of group of people or community. Fine. What are the main elements of social contract theory? There is a hyper norm which may be considered, and you can come to a common agreement, and a macro social contract and a micro social contract. So what is hyper norm? Hyper norms means like universal norms. As I said, like you're not supposed to shoot general between general public. You should not shoot each other, right? Using a pistol, or you're not supposed to own a gun also, which is uh, uh, which is prohibited in India. India, right? And then testing of nuclear weapons, right? Which is not accepted. You're not supposed to test, because of which still countries are testing, because of which there are certain trade bans also, right? So hyper norms is like you're not supposed to use nuclear weapons, especially. That becomes a universal acceptance, right? So hyper norm is something which is universal norms that apply equally to all individual basic human rights, such as personal freedom. You have your own personal freedom, physical security, well-being. Yes, you're not supposed to harm the security of others. Political participation. There is no blockage, like you're not supposed to participate in the political aspects which you are interested in. You're always welcome for that. And ownership of property. You can buy the product, you can buy the land, any kind of properties. If you pay for it, then yes, you have the rights to own it. Macro social norm is this is again a global norm where you are trying to have a free consent of parties involved. Like everyone has their will and wish. Unless otherwise you feel yes, you want to go for a contract, you can go, or else you are not forced to, right? So likewise, macro it's in the bigger level. Micro is in for the smaller community level. Each set of community will have their own norms which has to be followed, right? These three things will help in framing a social contract, right, between people. So till now we have discussed like summary of the module, the first introduction, whatever I've given in the previous session. These things we have discussed yesterday, and now we have discussed what is meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics, and the explanations on the same. And we have gone with what is market system and what are all the unethical behavior that can happen in a market system. And we have discussed what is social contract theory and what are the main elements of social contract theory. Now let me go with one more topic. It is ethical code, ethical organization, and its corporate code. Okay, fine. Now, what is ethical organization? Yeah, everyone are here? Yes, all three are here. Hello, am I audible? Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Ajit sir, can you see my slide?
Yes, sir. We are seeing it.
Okay, fine. Okay, ethical organization and its corporate code. See what is, and today we'll be now we will be discussing about what is an ethical organization, what is corporate moral excellence, stakeholder, who is a stakeholder, what do you mean by corporate governance, and what is corporate code, and how to develop a corporate code and implement it. So I'll be again dealing with the gist of the contents. See, what is an ethical organization? We wish any organization to be ethical. Means the company or the company where we work, we expect it should be to be ethical, right? So wherever we are working, we expect the company has to be ethical, or else we feel like no, I'm not working in the right place, I'm working in the wrong place, right? Second is like the product what I'm buying. I'll expect that let it be a product or a service. I expect that it should deal with me ethically, right? For example, simple to say, a service provider. You have paid the bill and the transaction got cut twice and it went to the company's account to whom you have paid the bill. So you expect that they should return it back just to by dodging a complaint or whatever details they ask, they are supposed to send it back. If they send it back, you will be happy. And if no one is taking responsibility, then probably like you don't feel that's a good organization. Or let me make a simple example. You're ordering in Zomato and your amount got cut, but you have not received the product. And while checking now, the order has not been placed. Now your money is got struck. You're trying to find out like with whom my money got cut. right? So immediately you'll try to check like whether it got it got deducted from my bank account. Yes, it got deducted. Then whether it has gone to Zomato account, that you have to check, and then you feel like whether it has not reached to the restaurant in which I have ordered. So these kind of thoughts you will have immediately. Like if you make a call and inquire, the person who is on the other side, they should be in a position to support you and ensure that the money which you have not utilized for the order, that has to be returned back. If the person from that particular Zomato or food delivery organization, if they are not taking the in charge, and even the restaurant, if it is not taking the in charge, then you don't have faith on both the things. Then you'll never go for that site, and then you'll never go for the restaurant. So these are all basic expectation what every one of us will have on any kind of organization, whether it be like whether we are working or whether we are using the products or service. So we'll have an ethical, we expect this, right? So now this talks about ethical organization. So what is ethical organization? Organization will are trying hard to recognize as ethical organization in the eyes of stakeholders. Of course, if either the Zomato or the restaurant, if the restaurant doesn't get the order at all, doesn't get any intimation at all, then probably they are no way involved in this particular activity. But since being a platform provider and a connector, like a Zomato or a Swiggy or whatsoever, if they are not taking the actual responses, right? If they are not taking any kind of action, then you lose hope on that particular food provider or food the delivery agent or Zomato organization or Swiggy or whatsoever. And after that, you will not go to the site and make any order. Number one. Number two, if you feel they are not ethical, your review will make a big impact, and that affects the business to a larger extent. Number three, you have your own word of mouth. You'll try to give the same response to your own known contacts, which again will affect the business. So this has a multiple effect. That is the reason why any kind of organization are trying to be in the good books of any customer. So they are trying to be so hard to recognize themselves as ethical organization. Now let us move further. How this ethical behavior is seen? It is seen as an outcome of the company's policies, statement, and guidelines. So whatever they are following, that will get reflected in their employees. All right. So it is difficult to judge whether an organization is ethical or not, but a general framework for judging that can be made, which will get reflected in the employees' activities as well as the company's activities. This can be mentioned under three theories. One is theory of, for any organization, these three theories will act as a base. One is theory of corporate model excellence. The other one is ethics and stakeholder theory. The third one is ethics and corporate governance. Now, it's simple to understand. It is not so hard like the previous one, meta ethics or normative ethics kind. Let us go one by one. So, what is theory of corporate moral excellence? Here, the culture, this is one keyword. The culture which is adopted and followed by the organization, right? It should be based on moral values. See, everyone have their own morals. Even while framing any company or the top bosses of the company, they should involve in creating the moral values and a moral culture. So these culture will try to guide the employees' behavior in their day-to-day activities because anything starts from the top. If your management is very particular about the basic activities and ethical activities, then obviously the employee will try to follow that. If the management is trying to like if the management of an organization is trying to make a lot of unethical activities, then probably the employees doesn't have any other choice unless or otherwise they have a virtue. Virtue ethics means like let it be here, let my company do something, but I'll not go against that. I'll not go against my values. I'll be truthful. I'll be trustworthy person. That's the reason why whistleblowers are coming up. What is happening with whistleblowers? Especially like last year, we had a data piracy. Many of the data of people has been given to other company, which was sold out. So normally, what will happen is people will try to people working in the organization. Many assume that yes, I want to work, I want to get the salary. Yes, obviously I'll follow that. But certain people cannot digest those things. Certain people cannot digest those activities. They'll become a whistleblower. What they'll do is they'll try to come out and talk with the media and try to say that yes, this company, this my organization where I'm working, it is not doing good. They are not ethical. They are doing a lot of unethical activities. This is what they have done. So people who are having that virtue, they'll try to come out and say. So instead of making such kind of happenings, it is better that the organization they themselves create an ethical platform have a better culture by which the day-to-day activities of the employees will be aligned with that, and you'll have a better organization. Fine. That is about theory of corporate moral excellence, which is explained in the complete slide. And this can be done by two things. One is exposed values and then values in practice. So what is exposed values? You make the company statement very clear. Company statement is represented as generally the company statement talks about your mission and vision statements. You make the company's statements very clear, what you are, why you want to be in this business, and then company credos, your statement principles, right? So all those things should be stated very clear, which will give a pathway. Apart from that, values in practice, your statements are something different and the practice is something different, so it will not get aligned. So the practice what the company follows should also have certain ethics. So by this way, these base will give any organization to be ethical. The second theory is ethics and stakeholders. See, here, once the keyword is stakeholders. The stakeholders normally refers to the employees, customers, suppliers, lenders, society, government, etc. So, if you think that I should be ethical, my organization should be ethical, the founder or the top bosses, if you think like this organization should be ethical, if you do best possible things to your stakeholders, stakeholders mean any person who is interested in the business, then obviously you have a better culture. People will try to follow in your organization, and your organization will run for a long run, and you are doing the best possible for the business, right? So this talks about ethics and stakeholder theory. Whereas ethics and corporate governance, see, corporate governance is something like it's a combination of rules, process, or laws. The businesses are operated, regulated, and controlled. Here, the businesses are completely governed, and there is you have a separate topic on corporate governance in your post midterm. I mean, after your midterm examination, you'll have a subject content on corporate governance, which give detail about what is it, what are all the committees that are giving certain recommendation, what are all the best practices so that things will go fine with the business and the company will not fall down. So all those things will come under corporate governance. So in a basic level, this theory of it's a theory of ethics which deals with determination of what is right, fair, and proper in decision that affect the stakeholders. So again, the government intervention will be there while taking care of the corporate governance, and there will be certain revisions as what will be the best practices. So if companies wants to be ethical, if they follow the corporate government governance recommendation given by the government, which was formed by certain committees, then probably the company will be in a better position, and they are following that will become an ethical organization, right? What is corporate code? The corporate code, or otherwise called as code of conduct. If you see the last line, it talks about it's again a code of conduct. The other name is code of conduct or code of ethics and mission statement. Generally, it is a responsibility of the top management, especially, which has to create the corporate code or code of conduct for that particular organization in consultation with the CEO, board of directors, and legal departments. Right. So this should be done by the top management people. And so this is about corporate code in general. So how to develop a corporate code? If I want to create a corporate code represents what has to be followed, what to be done, what not to be done, how this organization can be ethical, what activities are accepted, what is the penalization for certain activities. All those things will be represented under corporate code, and each department will be addressed also, right? Each and every activities of the organization will be having a certain corporate codes. Simple to say, like maintaining clean, the canteen should be kept clean, and then respecting people. This is also maybe one more corporate code. Why people will say breach of breach. You are not respecting your seniors. It means insubordination, right? That is also a kind of corporate code. Fine. So how to develop a corporate code? Normally, this corporate code can be developed by identifying the key behaviors. So what are all the key behaviors? These key behaviors will be related to the product or service area. It can be workplace or any other area that are crucial for achieving the corporate goal. For a business, for an organization to perform, what are all the key areas relating in any departments of an organization that has to be identified, and those behaviors will give a base. After that, the key members of the organization, including the legal department, especially the legal department, should play a major role in reviewing the corporate code, whether it is right and how well it can be developed further. All those things should be reviewed. Then after reviewing and making the corporate code, it is ultimately the communication of the code. So whatever has been made, that has to be communicated to each and every employee. Unless otherwise they know the corporate code, you cannot say a statement that yes, you have breached. If they doesn't know what has to be done, then there is no question of breach to them, right? So it is the responsibility of the organization to ensure that these codes are reaching the employees. Update. So when and where required, certain things will become obsolete. So looking into the recent requirements, the code should be updated, right? So implementation, how to implement this? After creating the corporate code, it has to be implemented by communicating to the employees. How it can be done? One is induction package, especially we call it as induction program or induction training, where you try to send the codes to people in the form of training manual or a mission statement relating to work health and safety inside the organization. All these things should be delivered to the new employees. Normally, induction will happen for new employees. You are having a recruitment, you have a selection. After the selection, you go for induction and orientation. There, what the companies will do is they'll try to tell you what is this business and what is your job role. All those things will cover under induction and orientation. Through this means, you can tell the employees what is the corporate is all about and what is the code that has to be followed in this particular organization. So this is one way. Second is one-to-one training. So here, one-to-one training means like yes, you have an opportunity to train your employees. That is the best. That is one more best opportunity for informing your employees, uh, such as the owners, managers, supervisors, HR staffs, or trainers. Could work through the code of conduct and other requirements and expectations of the existing employees. Through training, you can emphasize. And then online training courses. This is also one more thing. This is also one more opportunity. Like during the joining of employees, you try to give a online training or a course which has to be undergone for a minimal time period, maybe for 2 hours or 3 hours or something like that, which talks only about the corporate code. Let them complete that. Let them have a completion of it by means of attempting some test. So that shows, that gives a clarity that yes, this employee has understood. And after that, they can be certified also in order to improve many learners. They can be given the certificate as a proof. And sometimes you can keep it like, okay, you complete this, after which you will be in your regular role. Or sometimes for the existing employees, ask them to complete it and then they can be given a certification and appreciation on that, right? And then company intranet. Through your intranet, which is happening within the organization, through that also you can make people to learn. And then employee handbook. This is generally it will be given. What am I supposed to do? From the HR department, you'll be getting a handbook. It is a printed version, and it may be available in certain major locations. It maybe mostly in the HR department and other things where you can refer. And employees should have an access for that also, right? It should be provided a location where people can have an access. Maybe a copy can be in the library, the organization as a library, or in different departments also if required. Fine. Notice board. Any kind of updation that has happened in the code that should be communicated to the employees or revision should be communicated to the employees, that can be made through notice boards. Fine. So now we have seen one more topic on corporate ethical behavior or ethical organization. So what we have seen, what is an organization, how it can be called as ethical. If you say an organization is ethical, it is an outcome of the company's ideal policy statement and guidelines. We have seen a framework which help any organization to make themselves as ethical organization. So these framework comes from three major theories. One is theory of corporate model excellence. The other one is ethics and stakeholder theory, and the last one is ethics and corporate governance. So these three things will give a framework for making an ethical organization. And we have seen what is the corporate code and what how it will help the ethical behavior, and we have seen how to create a corporate code. So by means of identification of key behavior that has to be reviewed by the legal department, which is the key member, and then communicating whatever has been framed is much more important step than creating, and then regular update. So by this way, you can create a corporate code, and we have seen how it can be implemented. So implementation of corporate code can happen through induction packages during the joining of an employee, and then during the one-to-one training, which the HR department and the other top officials have an opportunity to, during the training period, yes, you can make a component of it relating to corporate code and emphasize and re-emphasize on that so that it is not becoming forgotten or obsolete in the minds of the people, employees especially. Online training courses, as I said, this is also one more a good approach. I don't say new, it's a good approach. For new employees, you say that new joinees, you can say that you can go for a 2 hours of online training, which the HR department or the concerned department should create an online module by emphasizing more on this. Especially it will go with the HR department in most of the cases, and then you can have an evaluation about that also, and then certification of can be provided, and appreciation can also be given, which state that yes, this employee has understood what is it. It can be done for all existing employees also, nothing wrong in that, which can be considered as a part of their understanding with the organization, or sometimes it can be added in the appraisal, and where it will not be given some monetary benefit, but still appreciation can be given. And then company intranet, through the internal sources, this corporate code may be made available for each and everyone for their access. And then employee handbook, yes, every organization has its own handbook, and that is a good practice to have a handbook, and these codes should be mentioned in the employee handbook, and then it should be circulated among the members. Or if there is some scarcity of resources, then probably it can be maintained in the library, or in the HR department, or in the concerned departments, or maybe in the unions, something like that. So by that way, you are emphasizing that yes, this is the corporate code which is ready for reference. And notice board. This is a one more good opportunity where make certain and after the updation. Forthcoming contents will be much easier. Forthcoming classes, you will be seeing a lot of easy contents, especially dealing with what is ethics in HR, ethics in marketing, ethics in purchase, which are all much practical, which you are yourself can discuss, right? Which we can have a discussion, and you can easily understand, right? It's not a tough topic, tough subject. Only thing is like relating to the theories, you should concentrate and read more to understand it more clearer. All right, theories always will have its own difficulty, which cannot be I explained in the short time period. So I've given just a briefing of it. The detailed content, you just go through your book content, or even you can Google it and read it. And especially you can check with what is happening with your own organization. Since being working professional, I would request you to check with what is happening with your own organization, what is the code that is followed, something like that. And you can visualize and relate also what are all the ethical practices that you're following, right? Fine. Stopping my sharing. Okay. Okay. Any queries? You can unmute your mic. All of you can unmute your mic. I'll be there for another 2 minutes. Yeah. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I have done with 3 major topics as of now, right? Please
Right,
go
sir.
through the contents. All please go through the contents. And for your information, in your Swadhyaya, I have given these contents. Apart from that, I have given certain additional links also.
Okay,
Right.
sir.
Apart from whatever PPTs we have using in the class, but other than that, we have given certain links also, which will give you much more elaborated contents along with certain examples as well. All right. Please refer it so that you'll have more insight into it. So let us wind up now.